Hello, true duelists. My name is Craig Fee, and as always, welcome to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Update. With this weekend having come and gone, we've had our first YCS under the new ban list, the Remote Duel YCS for North America, with Konami giving me the stunning specifics of over 500 players attending the event through the glorious means of Discord webcams. The event was a long one because can you imagine having to explain Tierlament chains and resolve them when you can't interact with your opponent's cards physically? Medora, which targets again? Duck says I'll pass. I don't want to deal with that. And I didn't. Still, a smaller event was evidently needed because the event didn't end until about 11 p.m. on Sunday. Can you imagine if they had 1,000 players? That event would still be going on right now. Still, this was a YCS, and that means we have not only a winner, but also a look at how a ban list has affected the metagame. Congratulations go to Christian Urena for winning the event with, you already know what. There's one deck to play, it's Tierlaments with a Shizu. In a different timeline, this could have been won out by Flu Wanderese, but it was destined to be Tier versus Flu, since the top 4 was a Flu mirror match in one setting and a Tierlament mirror in the other. And man, can you imagine one of the most complex, intricate, and interesting duels to watch against fucking a Flu Wanderese mirror where you have to, the biggest opponent is staying awake? It's a wild time, I'll tell you what. Still, the top 32 of the event was pretty diverse compared to previous North American YCSs and just recent events in general. Don't know why I specified North American there. With tiers only getting 18 out of the top 32 spots. Only. This means that the deck only had 56% of top spots, bringing it down to Tier 1, and what is one of the funniest things I get to say today. That's right, Tier Shizu was not Tier 0 at this event. Not only was it not Tier 0, but instead there were actually 6 decks in the top 32. Wow! That's twice as many as previous events. With 5 spots each for Sprite and Flu Wanderese, we also saw 2 Runic Stun builds, an Exosister deck, and a Runic Naturia deck in the top 32 as well. People really just be throwing engines together and topping events. You'll have to see it. Even top 16 was fairly diverse, all things considered. 9 were tiers, but with 3 Sprite, 3 Flu, and the Naturia Runic deck making it to top 16. What a champion. I have no clue what inspired that deck, but it did well, so cool. This marks the 3rd event in a row where tiers did not absolutely dominate the event in the Tier 0 sense. Now, they're still Tier 1 and the best deck of the format, but it would seem that the matchup is being better understood and players are beginning to squeeze out more wins against it, or at least that would be implied based on the not Tier 0 status. Which is a good thing, according to all Twitter users and Redditors who spend a disproportionate amount of their lives bitching about Tier 0 formats online. Some of the other noteworthy events in this finals were 2 things if you ask me. Christian's deck list did not play any Bestials, a notable change compared to last format, and a welcome change for hero players, whose win con is toppled completely by any Bestial monster, which is irrelevant, but I find it funny. Still, I believe the reasoning for their absence from his deck was the fact that they're a known and expected threat that players are already prepared to play against, and they just brick somewhat. So he was deterred from playing them and opted instead to play more consistent C cards and board breakers. There's also the fact that finals was ultimately decided by a penalty for the 2nd place player, Cesar Victor Lopez. While resolving the effect of a Flu Wanderese map, he had inadvertently revealed cards from his deck to his opponent, showing them on the camera. This was not the first time he had been flagged for this problem at the event, and as such was issued a game loss. And with it being Game 2 of the finals after losing Game 1, it meant that the duel was over. Just a bit of an underwhelming conclusion to the event. This may seem extreme since it only benefits his opponent, so it's hardly a conventional form of cheating. But it is against tournament policy and could technically be done to collude with the opponent, I guess you could say. Help them understand your deck better to give them an easier win. I can say pretty definitively that that is not what was happening at this duel specifically, but I can understand why Konami has a policy against it. You want a genuine duel wherein the better player wins, not a free win handed to another player. Still, it's unfortunate that he was just going through his deck in view of the camera, but Konami elected to enforce the rule here, and there's not much we can do about it. Oh, and also because it's me and I'm covering a YCS, Jesse Cotton fucked up again, second YCS in a row where he put Zombie Warrior instead of Zombie World on the listing of his side deck cards. As such, he received a game loss during the event, and he was not allowed to play the Zombie Worlds he had in his side deck, meaning he was playing with an incomplete side deck. And he still got top 32. Even handicapped, he is better than the overwhelming majority of players. My God. The next event will be an in-person one, with YCS Sydney taking place on the weekend of January 7th and 8th, followed by the Remote Duel YCS Latin America taking place on January 21st and 22nd, all in the year 2023, because time moves forward, if you can't figure that out. Maybe these events will be somewhat different and people will stop complaining. Oh, we know that shit ain't happening. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! But the YCS wasn't the only big thing happening from Konami in regard to the online sphere. No, for the first time since 2012, Konami released an article on their blog explaining their hits on the ban list. This is unprecedented over the last 10 years' deafening silence. In the article, they state that they banned Mine because it means duelists will no longer need to risk losing to it the moment it's played, and they banned Curious, specifically mentioning the Nightmare Griffin and Curious combo to get any spell or trap turn 1, and to help hurt tier decks that were playing it. They had stopped playing it by the time Magnificent Mavens dropped, but hey, probably deserve to be banned regardless, so we'll take it and run. They say the exact reason Herald of Orange Lake got hit, because we know exactly why it got hit. It's way too good with the Ishizu cards. And most interestingly to me was the addressing of moving Macrocosmos and Dimensional Fissure to 3. Straight up saying that it hurts tiers and that was their main way to address the deck's dominance. Now, broadly, I imagine that they know this is pretty surface level. They know Curious wasn't seeing as much play post-Mama, and they know that Macro and DeFi didn't really touch the deck in the OCG. It was still the best over there. But, fucking however, they are talking to us. It has been a decade since this happened last, and they didn't outright ignore the current meta in this article like they did last time. I mean, sure, it isn't addressing it head on, but it is so much better than nothing we've had in these last 10 years. The only request I have here is do not harass them to the point they stop talking to us again. Please. We need this. It is so much better than the alternative. And even funnier to me is that it wasn't even the only communication that they did with us over the weekend. Over the course of the Remote Duel YCS, they polled various players on different things, including their favorite change from the ban list. Spoiler alert, it's the banning of Mystic Mine. They also asked which deck players thought would win the event. Spoiler alert, the deck that was going to win the event. And even pointless shit like who rules the Dark World, Grapha or Rainbow. One rules the dueling field, and that's what matters most. What's the moral of all this? It's that communication is good in any relationship, especially with the one players have with the company making the game they play. We've all spent too much on cardboard. I'd love a little more transparency from Konami, even if it is a little more opaque than I'd like. Also huge this past week was the OCG's latest ban list. A goddamn slaughterhouse of their metagame. It was a hell of a turn of events. The banning of the Wind Barrier statue was objectively correct, and I'm saying that with full bias. Fuck that card. But more notably, really, was the banning of Kit Kalos. This isn't just the banning of one of Kit Kalos's, nope, that's not it. This isn't just the banning of one of Tearlament's fusions, it's practically banning two. Kit Kalos is a material for Rukalos, and while cards like King of the Swamp could help mitigate that, this is not the only hit in the OCG, so believe me, there are complications here. Those were the only bans, but don't worry, it's getting worse for tiers. The OCG has also limited Kashitra Unicorn and Fenrir, Bestial Magnamut, and tier limits Havnus and Rhino Heart. And of note, Rhino Heart is a named requirement for the last fusion that tier limits could be playing. So it's pretty safe to say that the deck is significantly less playable in the OCG. The Kashitra limits also make sense since the deck was the only one that was able to compete with tiers, and Magnamut is, I mean, I'll call it now, it's going to 1 into TCG2. That's not a shock to anyone, or it shouldn't be. Other notable changes include an errata to Ancient Fairy Dragon, which I'll go over in a moment, as well as the OCG changing its status of Change of Heart, good save, and Yatagarasu, moving them off of the ban list. Most notably, in my opinion, however, is the semi-limiting of Infernity Launcher, which is scary to think about because Infernity loops for days. We may be past the point of that being scary, I get it. There are cards like Dimension Shifter and Nibiru, and hand traps in general are much better than they were in 2011, now in 2023 when this list will be in effect. Still, my gut just says no. All in all, it's a goddamn massacre, and I didn't even cover every single change, because I wonder, more importantly for us, how this will apply to the TCG. Tiers will certainly be hit, as will the Ishizu cards, and if recent tops are anything to go by, I imagine we can expect something of a slap on the wrist at minimum for the decks Fluwandereeze, Sprite, and even possibly Runic as well. This is a heavy-handed hit that the OCG did to tier limits, but I feel like that's kind of what's needed to really stop them from seeing top-tier play. I don't play the deck though, you can inform me how wrong I am in the comments. The releasing of Infernity is possibly on our horizon, but also the OCG has the party boat and we don't have that on this side of the Pacific. Got the right ocean this time. It's hard to say for certain what it is exactly we can expect, but one thing is not hard to say because it's for damn sure, Ancient Fairy Dragon is coming back. Yes, Ancient Fairy Dragon, the banned Signer Dragon, and also the least dragon-looking one at that, in my opinion. It has officially received an errata in the OCG, and when put to 1, with its effect being changed to a hard once per turn on each effect, and it now being required to grab a differently named field spell than the one it pops with its second effect. They also kept the no battle phase thing, which is funny, because is that really broken at this point compared to other decks? Still, we have received every other errata the OCG has gotten to this point, and we'll be getting this one soon enough. When and in what set exactly? Couldn't tell you. I wouldn't be shocked if it's getting its first reprint in a set that will contain the level 10 retrain that every other Signer Dragon has got to this point, because that is a trend. I'm looking forward to it mostly for the synchro shenanigans, because they are some of my favorite things to watch. Fuck yeah, dude. 35-minute solitaire boards that the Yugi boomers just bitch about? Directly into my veins, please. And also big this week, but not much to report on yet, is the Jump Festa in Japan. This is big if you watch shonen anime, I guess, but in regards to true duelists, we care because this is the event where Konami has historically announced Master Rule revisions. Most infamously, the Master Rule 4 revisions in 2017 that caused my friend Adam to stop playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Bye, Adam. Still miss you, buddy. Back on topic, there's some speculation as to whether or not Konami will give us a new Master Rule or not. We can't say for certain, but rest assured that we here at The Update will cover it once we know for sure. I don't think the game needs more summoning mechanics, or much change at all right now, to be honest. But we'll see what happens. And please God, if they add a new summoning mechanic, do not put it in the extra deck. And do call it Master Rule 5, because the community settled on calling the revisions to Master Rule 4 Master Rule 5, and the confusion that would result from that would be very funny to me. Jump Festa will be taking place this weekend, starting tomorrow, so you can expect a lot of hype or disappointment from Yugitubers Yugitubers everywhere in the coming week. And I'll be one of them. In community news, we'll start off with something that you can do to help someone out. Yugituber ClownyKnights had built themselves a strong 10,000 subscriber based channel, and due to some classic YouTube nonsense and some strikes, they've lost it. They're a strong Yugi memer, and it would mean a lot if you go check out their new channel replacing it, give them a subscription, and get some more memes in your feed, if you're the type of person who wants a little more comedy in your life. And by the way, that's not a request. I'm telling you to fucking do it now. In some good stuff community news, however, I know of 2 projects celebrating this past year in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I didn't update the script because there's 3 now. Starting first with HakunaMyData, as I chose to pronounce it. Some of their content includes analyzing data from various things in Yu-Gi-Oh! From top decks of the format to more memey things like progression series statistics. And one day, if God is cruel, maybe he'll have to figure out exactly how much time in my videos on average I spend holding a gun. Spoiler alert, simultaneously far too much and not enough. He's currently taking data for a end of the year survey, which will close today by the time you're watching it, day of upload. So if you want to help him out, check out the link in the description to give him some extra info and help get a truer look into the past year of a game that I call Yug. I have brain rot. And there's also the announcement of the TeamYataLoked Yugitube Rewind 2022. Yes, our resident meme lord has announced plans to make another recap of the year's memes and featuring a number of content creators in the Yugi sphere, both big and small. And maybe even an appearance by me. We'll find out. Crazy, I know, a content creator submitting to a highlight of the community. I am audacious. But if by some chance you're a content creator yourself and want to submit something of your own, or maybe even an editor who'd like to help Yada out, you can check out the link in the description I'll leave for that one, because helping him would be cool. And everyone else can look forward to another great year-end recap from Yada in the near enough future. Again, or else. Don't make me get the gun out. I'm gonna... Or else. And lastly, for polls for you to fill out, MBT has announced that he will be putting on a Best of 2022 for the community, where you can vote for your favorite streamer, Yugituber, piece of drama even, all sorts of things, you name it. There's even a category for the most normal person. Who among us gets to call themselves normal in this community? You can decide. Polls are open for roughly a week if I'm not mistaken. And if you do want to support this channel and throw in my name, I think I technically apply for the categories of Rising YouTuber and also, I mean, it ain't winning at all, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Update for the best series, because it is a series. I don't see that happening on either front, but hey, maybe if enough people throw in my name, I'll be seen by MBT, and then he can maybe watch a video of mine on stream, and then I can just leech, viewers from him that way. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be like marketing in the freest of ways. If you ask me, however, if I'm gonna nominate someone else for the best new Yugi boomer, streamer, man, YouTuber, Curry Bandits will get my vote, because you should check them out if you haven't already. Good shit. And otherwise, go and vote. If we make this a big enough deal, I can use it as EV clickbait in future weeks for the update where I don't have to think. Oh yeah, I'm asking you to help me clickbait. It's YouTube, baby. And lastly for this week, have a volume warning because it's about to get loud. Look at this. What are you doing? Oh my God, what the fuck is wrong with people? You can't do that. What? God, stop. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. Stop it immediately. I will not stand for this in my community. Unacceptable. Stop it now. Shoutouts, as always, goes to our sponsor, LIFD. If you'd like a magnetic case to display your cards and keep them in good condition instead of physically abusing them and tearing apart my soul while you're at it, you can go ahead and check out the link in the description to get 15% off your order, or use promo code YGOStrats15. This is a great way to display your cards, and don't bend them. Jesus Christ. And so that'll wrap it up for this week's update. As always, I've been your host, Craig Fee, and make sure you subscribe to YGO Strats for next week's update to impress your smoking Italian wife, and so that you too can be a true duelist.